In a small town, where the routine was marked by monotony, Clara decided to change her life by signing up for Jiu Jitsu classes. The idea of learning a martial art had always fascinated her, but what really motivated her was the pursuit of self-confidence and strength. Upon arriving at the gym, she was greeted by Lucas, the coach. He was everything Clara wasn't: strong, charismatic, and exuding an aura of authority that intrigued her. Lucas stood out not only for his skill on the mat but also for the way he moved and spoke. His presence was magnetic. He had a way of looking at his students that made everyone feel special. His voice resonated with confidence, and his penetrating gaze made Clara feel butterflies in her stomach. During the first few lessons, she struggled to keep up with the training, admiring every movement he demonstrated. The contrast between Lucas and her boyfriend, Raphael, who spent his hours in an office, started to form in her mind. While Raphael was kind and thoughtful, Lucas was intense and challenging. As the weeks passed, Clara's admiration for Lucas grew into something deeper. She noticed how he watched her during training, correcting her posture with a firm touch on her arm or an encouraging word whispered in her ear. Each interaction seemed charged with an electric tension that Clara couldn't ignore. Lucas' strong and confident figure awakened desires in her that she didn't even know existed. She began paying attention to every detail of him: the way his muscles moved beneath his tight shirt during practice, the easy smile that lit up his face when someone made a good move. One night, after a particularly intense training session, Clara stayed behind to talk with Lucas. They exchanged stories about their lives and dreams. He spoke passionately about his competitions and accomplishments in Jiu Jitsu, while she shared her insecurities and aspirations. The connection between them deepened, and Clara felt her heart race when Lucas leaned in to adjust her belt. His touch made her want more than just friendship. It was a simple contact, but at the same time, it was loaded with meaning. The warmth of his hand on her skin stirred sensations Clara had never experienced. Clara fought against her feelings for a while, but the attraction became unbearable. In a moment of weakness, she decided to accept an invitation from Lucas to go out after training. The gym environment became a backdrop for new possibilities. The conversations that had once been about jiu-jitsu now flirted with something more intimate. That night, as they walked under the stars, Clara realized she was about to cross a line that could change everything. The betrayal started as a distant thought in Clara's mind, but soon it became a seductive reality. She knew she was betraying Raphael, but the excitement and adrenaline of being with Lucas were irresistible. The authoritative figure he represented drew her in more and more. He was everything she wanted in a man: strong, capable, and confident. Meanwhile, Raphael remained oblivious to the emotional storm unfolding in Clara's life. Clara was torn between two worlds: the familiar comfort of her relationship with Raphael and the new, overwhelming passion for Lucas. The jiu-jitsu classes became not just a form of physical exercise, but also an emotional battleground where her conflicting feelings fought for space. In the following days, Clara found herself trapped in a web of contradictory emotion. With each training session with Lucas, her attraction to him grew even more. She couldn't avoid the furtive glances or the knowing smiles during exercises. The chemistry between them was palpable. There was something undeniable in the air whenever they were together on the mat. The conversations became more personal and intimate, and Clara started daydreaming about moments when she could be with him without thinking about the consequences. Meanwhile, Raphael continued to be the attentive boyfriend he had always been. He prepared romantic dinners and made plans for their future together. But Clara felt an increasing disconnect between them. The conversations seemed superficial compared to what she experienced with Lucas. Life at Raphael's office felt monotonous next to the intensity of the training and the passionate feelings that were beginning to bloom in her life. One night, after a particularly intense training session where Lucas had praised her progress with a gleam in his eyes that made her heart race, Clara decided to go to his house to discuss some advanced techniques. The atmosphere was light and fun until the conversation shifted to relationships and personal desires. Lucas shared his past experiences and how he valued authenticity in relationships. Clara felt comfortable opening up about her insecurities and frustrations. In that vulnerable moment, something changed between them. The words stopped being just words and started carrying a deep emotional weight. When Lucas leaned in close to her while talking about his ambitions in jiu-jitsu, Clara realized how much she wanted that man by her side, not just as a coach or a friend, but as a lover. The casual touch of his arm while demonstrating a new technique sent shivers down Clara's spine. Each time he got close to her during training or corrected her posture with a firm touch on her back, the world around her seemed to disappear. It was as if everything slowed down. Each physical contact sparked a fire inside her that seemed impossible to extinguish. The tension increased when Lucas began asking more personal questions about her love life. He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know Clara beyond the mat. This made her feel special and desired in a new way. The conversations often ended with prolonged glances and shy smiles, fleeting moments where both seemed aware of the growing attraction. And so came the fateful day when Clara decided to accept another invitation from Lucas to go out, this time without any excuse related to jiu-jitsu. Her heart raced as she got ready. Every piece of clothing seemed to reflect not only her anticipation for the evening but also her internal struggle against the impending betrayal. When they arrived at the local bar after the training session, the atmosphere was filled with laughter and lively music. But none of that mattered to Clara. All she could think about was Lucas's hypnotic presence beside her. The hours passed quickly as they talked excitedly about everything, from fighting techniques to personal dreams, but there was something deeper pulsing beneath the surface of their exchanged words. At one point during the night, while they were waiting for their drinks at the crowded bar, Lucas turned to her with a serious look in his deep blue eyes. "Clara," he said softly, "I feel something special between us." Her heart raced. Those words were like an irresistible invitation to cross a line that had already been thinned between friendship and desire. The kiss was unexpected, sweet and intense, like a lightning bolt illuminating a dark night. In that decisive moment, all doubts disappeared. She was completely lost in his arms. The betrayal had become reality in the most intense way possible. Clara knew she had crossed a dangerous line and that the consequences would be inevitable. But in that fleeting moment of overwhelming passion with Lucas, all she could think about was the electrifying feeling of being truly alive for the first time in a long time. From that day on, her life would change forever. Now she would have to deal with the conflicting feelings between two very different men, the familiar comfort of Raphael and the passionate intensity of Lucas. The decision was made. She had chosen to follow her impulsive heart over cautious reason. And so began a new phase in Clara's life, full of tough choices and intense emotions, as she navigated the complexities of love and human desire. With each subsequent training session at the gym and each secret meeting with Lucas outside of it, Clara sank deeper into this new reality full of forbidden passion. She knew the risks involved. Every stolen moment was filled with the adrenaline of betrayal and the fear of the unknown. But this excitement was addictive. The encounters became more frequent. They started exploring not just advanced techniques on the mat but also the boundaries of desire outside of it. Every time they were alone together after training or during conversations at the local bar where they usually went after class, the tension increased exponentially. One night after an especially exhausting training session where both were sweaty and out of breath after several intense rolls on the mat, Lucas invited Clara to his house to relax a bit before the gym's next event, a local competition where he would be competing for the win once again. The atmosphere was charged when they arrived at his house. The lights were soft and created dancing shadows on the walls as they talked about strategies for the upcoming competition. But soon, the conversations naturally shifted back to more personal matters, future dreams and deep desires, bringing them ever closer to the boundary of emotional intimacy. Then Lucas did something unexpected. He gently took her hand while talking about his hopes in the sport. That touch sent electric waves through her body again, as if the entire world had disappeared around them in that magical moment. "You're different," he said sincerely, looking into her eyes with an almost hypnotic intensity as his fingers delicately intertwined with hers. "You inspire me." His words were like fuel to the already burning fire inside her. Clara felt her heart race even faster as she gazed deeply into his eyes, not quite knowing how to respond to such an intense declaration. I feel the same way," she murmured hesitantly, but before she could finish her sentence, he slowly leaned toward her until their lips finally met again, this time with much more urgency than before. Their kiss was charged not only with repressed passion but also with a desperate need for physical connection. It was as if everything else in the world had disappeared again, leaving only the two of them entwined in that sensual dance full of unspoken promises. Clara knew exactly where this could lead, but in that moment, everything felt right, everything made sense, even knowing the devastating consequences if it were discovered by Raphael or anyone else close to them. The meetings continued like this for weeks, becoming more intense each time, until they reached the point where they could no longer ignore the deep feelings involved in their secret relationship. Both knew they were playing a dangerous game but were unable to stop, incapable of resisting the overwhelming attraction between them. Clara began to feel torn between two worlds, the safe promises made by Raphael during their moments together versus the burning flames provoked by Lucas whenever they were physically or emotionally close. It was a constant battle within herself as she tried to balance these two conflicting parts of her life without letting either slip completely out of her hands. Raphael continued to be the attentive boyfriend, always concerned with her well-being, preparing romantic candlelit dinners or making small surprises during their weekly meetings, but none of it seemed enough compared to the pulsing electricity present in the stolen moments spent beside the strong and confident coach. One sunny afternoon, after another intense training session at the gym where they had spent hours sweating together practicing new techniques, Clara decided to finally confront her internal feelings about the whole complicated situation involving both love and betrayal simultaneously. She needed to decide which path to follow: continue this clandestine relationship full of risky passion or return to the safe arms of her loving boyfriend? Deep down, she knew what the right answer would be, but would she be able to do it? The emotions were running high as she walked slowly through the park near the gym, reflecting on all these complicated questions. During this solitary walk under the shady trees of the sunny park, Clara began to remember the happy moments shared with Raphael, laughter during walks in the park, romantic dinners prepared by him, deep conversations on peaceful nights. These memories warmed her heart, making her question even more her recent choices. Soon, these thoughts were interrupted by the vivid memory of the burning touches exchanged between her and Lucas. Those electrifying moments when everything seemed possible, when each kiss promised new adventures, new discoveries. It was hard to ignore this overwhelming new passion. As Clara walked, she spotted Raphael sitting on a nearby bench, staring intently at his phone. Her heart raced when she saw him there. He looked so carefree, so happy. At the same time, this stirred conflicting emotions inside her. Guilt for betraying such a good man. "Hey," Raphael said when he noticed her presence. "I was thinking about you. How was your day?" "Hey. It was good. I just trained a lot today," she replied, trying to hide any trace of the internal confusion she was feeling. He smiled warmly, making her feel guilty for hiding something so significant. They talked about trivial things as they walked together through the park, but each word exchanged seemed to weigh more heavily on her shoulders. By the end of their walk, when they were nearing the park's exit, Raphael took her hands in his, looking deeply into her eyes. "Clara, I really love you," he said sincerely. "I want to build our future together." Those words cut deep into her heart. It was exactly what she wanted to hear. But at the same time, she remembered the intense moments shared with Lucas, that uncontrollable passion. How could she choose between two loves that were so different? After that encounter in the park, Clara decided to take a break from her confused feelings. She needed to reflect on everything alone before making any rash decision. In the following days, she tried to focus on her training at the gym. She wanted to channel all that emotional energy into the classes. But even then, she couldn't stop thinking about Lucas, about the heated touches exchanged between them, the silent promises made through their gazes. One day after work, she decided to go to the gym even though she didn't have a class scheduled. She needed to see Lucas again. When she walked onto the empty mat, she found him adjusting some equipment. "Hey," she said timidly. "Hey. Good to see you here," he replied with a broad smile. They started talking casually about recent training sessions until they once again veered into personal matters. Soon, they were laughing together like they always did. But then something changed. There was a palpable tension in the air. Both of them knew where this could lead again. When Lucas took a step forward and placed his hands on her shoulders while discussing advanced techniques, Clara felt that same shiver course through her body. "Clara," he said, looking directly into her eyes. "I want you." Those words echoed in her mind like a mantra. It was hard to resist such overwhelming attraction. The impulse took over. Without thinking twice, she leaned in to kiss him passionately. The kiss was intense. All the repressed feelings exploded in that moment. Desire, guilt, passion, all mixed in a frantic dance between their heated bodies. It was impossible to stop now. They were lost in that overwhelming wave. After that passionate kiss, they both knew exactly where they stood. They had crossed another dangerous line. But in that fleeting, intense moment, everything seemed right. Clara then realized how far she had come in this tumultuous journey. Now, it remained to be seen how far this new phase of life would take them. With each subsequent training session at the gym alongside the strong and confident coach, new challenges arose, both physical and emotional. And so began new twists in the tumultuous life of this woman, divided between two loves, as different as they were intense. Meanwhile, Raphael remained unaware of the emotional storms within her, believing he was building something solid with the woman he loved, while Clara struggled against her own inner demons, torn between two opposing worlds, safe love versus risky passion. Life had taken an unexpected turn for Clara. Now, it remained to be seen how far this new journey would take both her and those involved in this intricate web called love.